The key slipped from my numb fingers and vanished into the storm drain like a bad omen. Right as the sky cracked open and dumped Seattle's wrath on me, I pounded on the only door that mattered in that godforsaken cul-de-sac, my fist raw against the wood, screaming Nicholas's name into the howling wind because who else was I going to turn to at 2 a.m. with a dead phone and a heart already cracking? Jordan? Jesus, man, get in here before you drown, he yelled back, yanking the door wide, his silhouette a goddamn lifeline in the chaos. That night blurred into a haze of hot coffee and borrowed sweats, the kind of accidental intimacy that sneaks up on you like fog off Puget Sound. Nicholas, Nick to everyone but me, though I didn't know why yet, tossed me a towel and a mug without a second thought, his kitchen lit by the flicker of a single bulb over the sink. We were neighbors for, 6 months? Long enough for hellos over the fence. Shared gripes about the HOA's lawn Nazis, but not deep enough for this. I stood there dripping, shivering not just from the cold, explaining how I'd stormed out after one too many voicemails from my ex, Mark, begging me to just talk it out, like I hadn't already given him 3 years of my soul. Nick listened, really listened, perched on a stool with his elbows on the scarred oak counter, those blue eyes steady as the Space Needle on a clear day. Exes are like bad tattoos, he said finally, a wry half-smile cracking his face. Hurt like hell to get rid of, but man, the freedom afterward? Worth every scar. I laughed, a rusty sound that surprised us both, and just like that, the dam broke. We talked till dawn, about growing up in the shadow of the Cascades, how he'd fled a family dairy farm in eastern Washington because cows don't judge, but folks sure as hell do, and my own mess of a coming-out story in a Tacoma high school where the jocks called me Jordan the Jordan, like it was some clever slur on my name and my secret. By sunrise, the rain had eased to a drizzle, and I crashed on his couch, the kind with springs that poked like accusations. Waking up to the smell of bacon and the sizzle of eggs, I felt something shift, like the first crack in Seattle's endless gray. Nick slid a plate my way, grease-popping perfection with sourdough toast he'd burned just a little on one side. Real, unpolished, the way life hits you. You don't have to go back out there yet, he muttered, avoiding my gaze as he flipped channels to some Mariners pregame bullshit. Locks probably rusted shut anyway, and I didn't. Days turned to weeks, a slow bleed of borrowed time that felt stolen. We'd grill burgers in his backyard, the charcoal smoke curling up like prayers, arguing over whether Nirvana or Pearl Jam owned the 90s. Me defending Kurt's raw howl, him swearing Eddie Vedder's baritone could fix a broken heart. Evenings meant bonfires in a pit he'd dug himself, flames dancing shadows across his face as he confessed the farm boy loneliness. The summer he'd spent hitchhiking to San Francisco just to walk Haight Street holding a guy's hand without looking over his shoulder. Felt like breathing for the first time, he said, voice low, the firelight catching the gold in his stubble. I'd nod, my chest tight, because I'd been there too. That electric terror of wanting more than the world allowed. It wasn't just talk. Nick dragged me to volunteer at the local food bank, stacking cans in a warehouse that smelled of canned peaches and desperation, his laugh booming when we'd race to pallet the heaviest loads. Bet I can outlift a city boy like you, he'd tease, flexing dramatically, and I'd shove him, playful, our shoulders brushing in ways that lingered. One afternoon, as we wiped sweat from our brows amid the fluorescent hum, an old-timer, grizzled vet with a rainbow pin on his cap, clapped Nick on the back. Proud of you, son. Takes guts to show up like this. Nick's smile faltered, just for a beat, and he mumbled something about it being nothing. But later, driving home in his beat-up Tacoma truck with the radio blasting Springsteen, he gripped the wheel white-knuckled. Dad would have hated that pin, called it, that fairy shit. The one time he caught me staring too long at the neighbor kid. I reached over, squeezed his knee. Innocent, or so I told myself. And the air thickened, charged like the storm that started it all. Your dad's an asshole, I said softly. And he's missing out. Our eyes met at a red light, the kind of look that says everything and nothing, and when the light turned green, he didn't pull away. Fall deepened, leaves turning the streets to fire, and so did we. Stolen moments piled up. A hand on the small of my back as we navigated a crowded Pike Place market. Fingers lingering on mine when he passed the remote during movie nights. Always rom-coms he pretended to hate, but I'd catch him tearing up at the sappy parts. One night, after too many IPAs from his fridge, We sat on his roof, stars punching through the city haze, and he turned to me, breath warm against my ear. Jordan, you make this feel possible. Like I don't have to hide anymore. My heart hammered, and I leaned in, our lips brushing tentative, soft as the rain we'd laughed about that first night. It wasn't fireworks. It was a quiet unraveling, a promise whispered in the dark. But promises break easy in America, where love's just another commodity to trade. The betrayal hit like a freight train 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I'd swung by Nick's after a shift at the coffee shop. Double espresso runs for hipsters who tipped in crypto promises, and found his truck in the drive. But the door cracked open like an invitation to hell. Inside, voices. His low and pleading, and hers, smooth, East Coast polished. The kind that drips money and expectation. Nick, baby, your mom's counting on this. The firm's already booking the venue for the merger party. You can't throw it away over whatever this is. I froze in the hallway, piecing it together from the shards. Emily, his college fiancée from Yale days, the one he'd amicably split with but never quite escaped. Family expectations, boardroom alliances, his dad's dairy empire merging with her family's agritech startup. A match made in boardroom heaven, not heart. And me? I was the whatever this is, the phase, the distraction from the script. He saw me then, eyes widening in the doorway light, Emily turning with a cool appraisal that made my stomach lurch. Jordan, wait, he started, but I was already bolting, the screen door slamming like a gunshot. Rain lashed my face as I ran, not to my place but down the block, to the park where we'd skipped stones across Green Lake once, laughing like idiots. I collapsed on a bench, the letter I'd grabbed from his counter clutched in my fist, her email printout, casual cruelty. Sort out your little experiment, Nicholas. We leave for the holidays Friday. Hours blurred. My phone buzzed. Texts from him, voicemails thick with apologies. But I let it ring, the betrayal a knife twisting slow. How could he kiss me like that? Build me up brick by brick, only to shove me aside for a life that wasn't his. Dawn crept in, gray and unforgiving, and there he was, trudging through the mist, coat flapping, face etched with the kind of regret that carves canyons. Jordan, please. He dropped to his knees in the mud, not caring about the filth, grabbing my hands like they'd slip away. It's not what you think. I mean, it is, but, God, I've been running from this my whole life. The farm, the expectations, Emily. It's all chains. And you? You're the first thing that felt like freedom. Tears mixed with the rain on his cheeks. And mine too, hot and unbidden. I told her last night, ended it for good. But I get it if you hate me. I hate me. The climax crashed then. Not with screams but a storm of truths we'd both dodged. I yanked my hands free, standing, the letter crumpling in my grip. You let her in, Nick. Let her talk like I was nothing. Like us was nothing. My voice broke, raw as the wind off the lake. He rose slow, closing the distance, his hands hovering like he was afraid I'd shatter. You're everything, he whispered, forehead pressing to mine, breaths mingling in the cold. I was scared of losing the family I thought I needed. But losing you? That's the real lockout. We stood there, drenched and defiant, the city waking around us. Joggers in neon, distant horns blaring like applause. I searched his eyes, those blue depths I drowned in, and saw the boy from the farm, the man at the food bank, the one who'd pulled me from the rain. Betrayal stung, yeah, but beneath it pulsed something fiercer. Forgiveness, not easy or Hallmark sweet, but earned, humanistic in its mess. Don't make me regret this, I murmured, pulling him close, our embrace a dam against the flood. We didn't rush back, walked instead, hands linked loose at first, then tight, talking through the wreckage. How he'd call his folks, face the fallout. How I'd help, stand beside him because that's what neighbors do, what lovers do when it's real. Thanksgiving came quiet, just us in his kitchen, turkey burning because we got distracted laughing over pie crust wars. No families or mergers, just the two of us carving out space in a world that doesn't always bend. Months later, as snow dusted the evergreens, we locked our lives together. Not with rings or vows, but with a spare key on each chain, a quiet rebellion against the locks we'd both escaped. Nick's dad showed up once, unannounced, Bible in hand and lectures loaded. But Nick met him on the porch, me inside pretending not to listen. "This is my life, Dad. Love him or leave." The old man left with a nod, no fireworks, but a crack in the armor. Progress, American style, slow as molasses but sweet. And me? I stopped running from my own ghosts, started that graphic novel I'd sketched in stolen moments, panels of rainy nights and stolen kisses. Nick reads the drafts, critiques with that half smile, and in the quiet after, when the world's hushed, he pulls me close. "You changed everything," he says, and I believe him, because sometimes getting locked out is just the universe's way of kicking open the right door.